absolutely brilliant watching these two aircraft very close together. You've got to watch out for the rotor wash. Of course, there's a very large angle from the rotors, keeping the helicopter in the air, and so that can affect the performance of the other aircraft close beside it. Synchronized work here. A lot of training goes into this, getting the aircraft, the pilot able to operate the aircraft at the peak of their ability, and then synchronizing it here with the two together.
So we're based down at HMAS Albatross Nowra, and the name Typhoon is historical reference to the call sign of the Navy helicopter squadron operating in Vietnam actually used.
I believe our operating crew is both gunship and slip.
Yep.
And the Navy teams have got a very good reputation, and were well respected for the ability to operate under fire in dangerous areas.
It was actually part of what they called an EMU, an experimental military unit, and they were twinned with the US Army unit at the time.
That's right, mate. There's a couple of very good books on that. I'm not sure, I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, unfortunately, but they're well recommended. If you get the opportunity to find any of the books on the Royal Australian Navy, it's one thing, and that's incredible reading.
And now bow to the crowd. Keeping that distance, rotor spinning out the wheel, reversing.
Certainly, hands on the cycle, there's a stick between the legs, position is the third base point, and the finger of the pedals actually control the tail rotors, the spinners are just sitting there. And then of course you've also got the collective control, and as Ando mentioned yesterday, that's very much like a big handbrake. As you lift that, it changes the pitch of the rotors, allowing the rotors to bite more air. You've also got the rotating hand grip for your throttle. So as you lift collective, you put more throttle in. Of course, as you put more throttle in, it changes the dynamic of the aircraft. You've got to change your position on the pedals, and then you've also got to move the position of the cycle to compensate for everything. So you're moving everything,
A lot of things going on there, and I've been told it's far easier to learn to fly with zero experience, take a helicopter up, than it is if you're a fixed wing pilot, because fixed wing you have some preconceived ideas of how everything works.
That's right, mate. And early helicopters, they were saying, was like balancing an egg on the top of a pin, trying to keep it all going. These days, they're going to say it's definitely like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. There's a bit of coordination and training goes into it. Some of the things really designed as it took forever. I felt like forever to be sitting on the
This was the operational squadron's 816 squadron. World War I engines in New Zealand. You can go and get an Oberetzel for these, which is a brand new engine, but World War I, manufactured by the guys at T-Vale. Down in Wellington, and they're also manufacturing the RAF engines for the BE2s.
Like the Gnomes?
They're building Bentley radials as well. They're not cheap, but when you have a look at the workmanship, is just sensational. It's like a piece of sculpture.
And of course, the World War I did mention rotary engine. Now that's not rotary like you find in my RX-7. That's a rotary engine where the propeller was attached to the cylinders, and the cylinders would spin the whole unit around a central shaft.
With the propeller bolted to the engine. It's amazing.
And they had an open oil system. They used castor oil, so castor oil would come back over the pilot. Good for the skin, not so good for other reasons. If anyone knows the effects of castor oil, I'm sure you can imagine it.
It's strange to think that the Fokker triplane was actually brought in as a result of the introduction of a triplane.
Very brave pilots going up in these machines that by today's standards were incredibly fragile. But during World War I, we progressed from some of the most basic fragile rag and string aircraft and wire through to the aircraft that you're seeing here that represented the most modern, state-of-the-art aircraft available.
Von Richthofen actually flew the first replicas that they fly over in New Zealand. They can put up, I think, up to 8 of these. And as I said yesterday, it looks like a Venetian blind convention.
And it's the most Fokker triplanes you're going to find flying in any part of the world.
Very difficult to actually see out of because, for example, on the ground, when you're taxiing, that mid-wing blots out everything. So you've got to either sit up in your seat or really look underneath where the cutout is. Of course, the SE-5 was probably the best aircraft to come out on the Allied side in the First World War. Designed by the Royal Aircraft Factory, SE stood for Scout Experimental, and they came out with the SE-5 and then the improved SE-5A, powered by the Hispano-Suiza V8 or the Wolseley Viper V8, flown by Australian pilots and quite a few of the aces, including Mickey Mannock.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned Hispano-Suiza, that there's actually a couple of cars built around the engines that were used by aircraft of that mark.
And they used that engine.
Yeah, very impressive.
If you have a look at the SE-5 that's about to go down in flames, you can see it's armed with a Vickers gun which is fixed and fires through the propeller arc like the Spandau machine guns on the Fokker triplane. But there is another gun that's over the top of the wing. That's a Lewis gun, and it's on what they call a Foster mount. It's a rail that comes back over the wing and then drops down, so that when it's out of ammunition, the pilot releases the lever, pulls the gun back down so it's pointing vertically, then you unscrew the Lewis gun round magazine, put it down in the cockpit, get another one on, screw it back on again and put the gun back in position, all while you're in mid-combat.
They're pretty impressive to be able to do that while in combat, and these aircraft are not stable. The gentlemen flying it today, they're from the Australian Vintage Aircraft Society, and up in Queensland. They tell me that you've got to keep concentrating the whole time while flying it. You can't relax, and one of them actually flew the triplane all the way. Big wave, folks, finishing off. Give them a big wave as they go past, and one of the guys actually flew the triplane from Queensland all the way down to Victoria for the Avalon Air Show one year, and that took a number of days. He said it was quite fascinating, the receptions he was getting everywhere he landed. Everyone was coming for miles.
And they are very twitchy aeroplane. They're quite unstable to fly. Of course, TAVAS is dedicated to the restoration, production, preservation of every area.
Information and sharing knowledge, access to parts and so on, and both New Zealand and Australia working together, along with Shuttleworth Collection and other groups in the UK and other parts of the world, the old Rhinebeck team in upstate New York, and they're working very hard to keep these World War I aircraft operating either as replicas or in very rare instances rebuilds and rescues.
What incredible sounds there, Grant. I know there are a lot of people who have come here today just to hear that, and I think there are even some people that came over from New Zealand looking forward to this.
Canopy, and we missed yesterday because there was some brake issues. Guys worked very hard last night, got it all repaired. Here we see it once again. The wind's dropped off enough that we don't have, we've got to